Hello, everyone. Today's guest has faced unimaginable challenges, from battling four autoimmune illnesses to enduring toxic relationships and surviving a devastating assault. Along the way, she struggled deeply, attempting suicide 3 times and losing her mom. Her story is especially important during Suicide Awareness Month, as more than 720,000 people die by suicide every year worldwide. And suicide is the second leading cause of death among 15 to 29-year-olds. Yet, through it all, Jennifer has transformed her pain into purpose. Jennifer is a women's empowerment coach. She helps women recovering from trauma by integrating fashion and teaching life skills, empowering them to feel good from the inside. So let's all welcome Jennifer. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me both.
Thank you for joining us. So let's get started. Let's get to know you more deeply, right? You have faced so many challenges, physical, emotional, mentally, throughout your journey. What was the turning point that helped you shift from surviving to living your purpose and turning your purpose into pain?
What a beautiful question. I would say after my third suicide attempt, leaving me into the ICU, um, I'm very I'm very lucky to be alive. And after the third one, I realized this can't be my life. There has to be something more. It shouldn't hurt this much to stay alive. And that was the first time where everything changed for me. I think it was almost realizing I didn't want to give up on myself anymore, that I was worth fighting for. That was my turning point. But it took me, ICU, 3 attempts to get there, but I finally did. And I thank God for giving me that chance to keep me in this world, because I realized that I'm here for a reason.
Wow, that's that hits me in the core. Yeah, it shouldn't hurt this much to live, right? It's and that I think can be a lot of people can resonate in that and that feeling of the stuckness in it. But how did you begin to reclaim your identity and self-worth after losing your toxic relationships and overwhelming trauma? How did you manage to what's the beginning of that? I'm curious to know what's the first step that you took after you realize I'm worth fighting for?
So I realized for myself, sometimes you have to lose yourself completely to find yourself. And that was exactly what happened to me.
Mm.
Um, and just to let you know, like I'm 46, so in my 40s, early 40s, I was going through this, and I didn't know who I was. I did not like myself. I did not like spending time with myself. I took on identities of the people that I was in relationships with. So I really had no sense of self, and I decided that I was going to delete all my apps, no more dating. The only person I was going to date was myself. And I put myself on many dates. And I have to be honest, so I really hated myself. I couldn't stand being alone with myself or just without any kind of distractions. So I started 5 minutes, and every week I would go up a minute and a minute and a minute. And through this time, I learned that I wanted to take off the mask that I was wearing for most of my adult life, probably even as a child.
Mm.
And I found this beautiful, authentic Jennifer. This, the inner child, this Jennifer of all these beautiful layers. And I just embraced her. And I just started to have this beautiful relationship. And that was the beginning of all of it, to be honest.
Wow.
Yeah, what a journey. What a journey to finding yourself. And it almost shows that you've tried all other relationships, but the most authentic and true relationship was the one you built with yourself.
Yeah, and it's the one that I was like, did not want at all for so long, you know? It wasn't appealing, but it ended up being the like Cinderella, the shoe that fits.
Yeah. What was it
Yeah.
like for you to have those mini dates? Was it scary in the beginning? What was the most challenging for you to refocus your energy and love for yourself?
Um, I think just the stillness of being with myself
Mm.
and having these intrusive thoughts of what I maybe was told about myself. And then also the struggle of not knowing, being at like in my 40s, of what I like. I didn't even know what to do with myself. So I think at first that was very difficult for me. And I was embarrassed to tell people that I didn't know how to spend time with myself or like to. It would be
Yeah.
very easy to call someone on the phone and to distract me, like, but I decided I wasn't going to do any more of that, and I just wanted to be with myself.
Wow. What would have been helpful for you during those times of struggle?
In what way?
Like looking back now, you felt embarrassed to tell people about you don't know who you are, how to spend time with yourself, and all the other struggles that you have had to go through, and knowing that you you are worthy of the space and time. And so now redirecting it in what truly matters for you. It sounds like there's a huge bridge in getting to that space. But what would have been helpful for you to kind of like speed up, to be okay with that?
Um, I think more conversations like this.
Mm.
Um, so, back, I mean, we're talking about like 6 years ago, but um, it's not a conversation people have, like people might say, yeah, I'm sad, but like for someone to really say, like, I'm really struggling, like I used to be embarrassed to tell people about my story. And
Mm.
then I realized my story is who made me. And this story is not something to be embarrassed of. And I think advocating and even just putting yourself out there um, probably would have been easier. But sometimes I feel like in life we have to go through things to come through. So,
Yeah, sounds like, having that, even just a one person to really get you to really know what the struggle is like, would have been helpful as well. And conversation to really normalize that this struggle is real. It's normal to go through confusion when you want some change.
Yeah, and now you empower other women, right? You know the struggle, you know what it's like, and you know how hard it is. What has your journey taught you from your own healing journey to helping other trauma survivors? What have you learned from their healing journey? And how do you help them, or how do you guide them getting out of that dark space that they've been?
Help is not one size fits all. There's like sometimes, treatment is not one size fits all. You know, um, and it's okay that if you have been like me, you've been in therapy your whole life, even as a kid, and you're still struggling. And I think my rawness and being vulnerable with other women and sharing my story was a bridge of us coming together and building that safe space, that community, and like that sisterhood, leaning on each other and just giving them that confidence to lean in and tap into themselves and explore that little inner child, has been a big thing for myself and for these women as well, to really finding who they are.
I do want to share with people, and I know that you share a lot about this as well, about Daisy.
Yes.
Daisy's been a very big part of your healing process, and Daisy now continues to help other women. Tell us a bit more about that process.
So, for anyone that doesn't know, Daisy's a stuffed moose that my niece gave me when I was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease called EGPA. And I she got Daisy through being a Girl Scout. She had to sell like 850 cookies to get her. And she decided that she was going to give me Daisy. I was like, again, in my 40s, maybe 43 at the time. And when she gave me Daisy, I was not happy. I even said to my sister, like, why is she giving me a stuffed animal? Like, I'm 40 something years old. And she's like, she just wanted to give you her. She really wants to give you her. So I took Daisy back home, and I'm just like, I was even thinking of throwing her out. I'm like, what am I going to do with this stuffed moose? And through this really difficult time, Daisy became a way for me to access my inner child. And she became my fluffiest, beautiful friend. And on my time when I'm not working, I volunteer at nonprofits, and I started to do an inner child workshop. That there was hundreds of women around the world, and during my workshop, I wasn't sure how people were going to feel, but I brought Daisy out for the first time. And this is the thing that I realized, a shift in me. I didn't care what people thought. In life before like this shift, all I did was worry what people thought, but I didn't anymore. And that's when I was truly being myself, and I brought Daisy out. And it was such a great reaction. And then the next thing I know, everyone said, hold on. And then they came back and they brought out their stuffed animals. And it was the most beautiful thing. So Daisy is the mascot for me in my work with women, that where we use her to help like retrain how we talk to ourselves. And seeing someone, it's just like your little, like if you had a daughter or someone, you wouldn't talk that way to that person the way you would speak to yourself. So to that's what Daisy does for me and these other women.
I love that. I think we all have that inner child in us, waiting to be rediscovered. And when we do, it's such magic to see. And also, our inner child sometimes holds on to the burden and the pain. And that if we can reconnect with that little person in all of us, and help her heal, what a beautiful life can be. Like we could be free in all the pressures of the world and pressures that we have had to swallow as children, right? Because we don't have the capacity and the courage yet to advocate for ourselves. And so now we can go back and reparent that inner child in us. And I think that you're making such a beautiful impact in the world, especially with women who have been who's gone through a lot. What is it like for you to see these people that you're working with go through from being stuck to now knowing how to reconnect with their true selves and advocating for themselves?
It's the best gift, honestly, to watch someone's growth, and to kind of reclaim their life and start believing in themselves and just exude that confidence. Um, it's the best part of just doing what we do, as you guys do. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I love it.
So what kind of sort of I know that you've trained so much. You have a lot of training under your belt. You're an expert in many things. But what kind of special kind of modalities do you usually use with your patient or your clients and for yourself that really worked? And we know that nothing is one size fits all approach, right? But for you, what worked for you and what do you see is working for other people?
So, that's a great question. So when I was kind of stuck in my healing journey and tried all these different modalities and kind of feeling like there must be something wrong with me, like I've been in therapy how long and it's nothing's really sticking. And I realized what I was craving. It was not just the understanding of what I'd been through, but more of like a roadmap.
Mm.
And not everyone needs that in life, but I sure did. And I realized other people do as well. And I decided that all the beautiful wisdom that I learned about myself, like dating myself, you know, Daisy, the inner child healing, also expressing yourself through fashion, I decided I was going to take all these things and put them together and kind of make a roadmap for other women. And I was lucky enough to be able to have the opportunity to kind of like test this out with all these other women. And I really learned of like, it's not typical things, but that's okay because it's just being open to something. It may work, it may not, but just having more tools in your toolbox has really helped me and I think helped others.
You and I have the same, it seems like we have the same background in fashion industry because
If you're in fashion,
I was in the fashion industry for 18 years in
what? Really?
London.
Not know
Yeah. I
that.
was a fit model. I was a technical designer. I was an assistant designer. And I have always wanted to use fashion as a way to get to help people reconnect with how they view themselves in their bodies and self-care, right? Um, what was the shift for you in using what you know best, which is the fashion, into incorporating that in your practice?
So after my rape, having expressing myself through fashion was the oxygen giving back into my lungs. And like I've always never showed that I struggled because I did my hair and I did my makeup and I did dress in a way that people wouldn't know that I was struggling. But I realized that was my way of taking all that probably pain and just keeping myself creative and expressing myself. So um, I was a stylist for, I mean, I went to FIT, did design, I was a buyer, I was a stylist, and I was very successful doing that, but I've always felt like I wanted to be able to put different pieces into the fashion. So it was when the pandemic happened, when my clients weren't had nowhere to go and they were struggling like with really deep stuff like addiction and domestic violence. And that's when I realized like I think it's time to like have groups where you teach skills and then you also do the fashion piece and do it together.
And what magic was that like for you?
God, it was amazing. And the thing is, I wish it didn't take me this long to realize all these things, to realize like it's okay, like, like I love CBT, I love DBT, I love all these different modalities, but I realized that it's okay to have other things that are not like conventional and try them and see if they help.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's the thing, right? That's you just never know what will work until you try it. And the courage in all of us exists. And sometimes we just have to kind of ask that voice in our head that's saying no to what's the worst that could happen if you try something that is not, you know, typical,
Exactly.
and it could work. And it sounds like a lot of people resonate with how your program and your practice.
And for those who are considering therapy, right? What are what are the things that they need to consider um, before they approach therapy or before they go for it? What would be your advice?
I think my advice would be just looking back at my experience of being with all these different therapists in my life, and I'm very thankful to have them help me in my life. Um, I just wish I took more charge of my therapy in the beginning years, where I've always thought like, they're professionals, they went to school, they know best. But
Mm.
I came to realize that I also know best too. And I would say, think about what your goals are in therapy and have a conversation of this is kind of like what I'm thinking and what I want to work on. Is this something that you think you could help me with? I realized going through therapy for so long, this like not having an agenda, just kind of like going in there and whatever comes up didn't really work for me because I'm like, I've been in therapy for 20 years and I'm like, I need skills and not everyone wants to do that. So being upfront and realizing first, what do you need to feel better? What what does that look like? And not being afraid to interview the therapist or the coach or whoever you want to go to and ask them questions and tell them like how you want to receive feedback. Tell them like how will they know if you're not doing well? The more information you give to someone, the better they could help you. And if they don't respond well, then they're not for you.
It's really important to advocate for what you need. And some people, it's also okay not to know what it is that you want, because sometimes when we are in the thick of it, of the struggle and the pain, we just want somebody to hold our hand, even just for the beginning. And I think that's the time when we have to lean on to friends and family who really knows us, and that could give us the feedback that we actually need so that we could have a better perspective of what might we need, and to
Mhm.
start listening to our own voices rather than someone else. And it's very tricky because I have been also in therapy for a very long time and still am, but for a different purpose now. um I realized when I walked in the office, I'm just like bug-eyed, don't know what to talk about, don't know what to say. My doctor just asked me to come here. And like you, I needed the tools to really see and look at my life as not something that defines who I am.
Yes.
right? And that I needed somebody to tell me that I have power over my life and that whatever happened to me isn't my fault. Because for the longest time, I think that's one thing that trauma survivors have always felt is that what's wrong with me? Why couldn't I be the same as other people who are just living a life? And why couldn't I do this? Because there is a pressure outside of ourselves, and then we start to abandon our own authenticity because we're trying to compare with other people, right? So of course we don't know what we want. Of course we don't know how to talk about our history and talk about our pain because we have not had that chance and space. Let it all out. And what is causing all the pain? It takes your body, your mind, and your soul working together to start healing. Right. And I think that's what you did, is that you have this epiphany in you, like, I am worth the time and space and the seat at the table. And God damn it, I'm gonna fight for myself if no one else does. Right. And what is that within you that started listening and started like, this is a power I have to reclaim. Right.
You know, I don't know the complete answer yet. I think I have been told I had so many labels on me. You're this, you're that. And some people did tell me that, you know, your past defines who you are. And I think that really stuck at me where I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I'm in so much pain. I don't even want to live. And I'm in my 40s. Um, and I think realizing that I have the power to rewrite my story.
Mm.
And I think that inner voice kind of like taking out all that noise from everyone, you know, even family, loved ones, and just listening to my inside of saying, there has to be more. There has to be more. You can learn other ways to cope. And that's what I did. I learned ways. I used to shop a lot. I used to smoke weed. I used to have sex just to numb myself. I did all these behaviors that weren't good for me. And now I think the only one that I probably still struggle a little bit with is my food, but I don't shop like I did before. I do not have all these relationships with men. And I'm really using tools and skills that empower me to feel good. So,
It sounds like you connected to that higher self, like that.
and I think it's also, thank you for saying the higher self. And I build my relationship with God because I was very angry with him. And, you know, that also in combined with everything else gave me that hope and that feeling like take it day by day.
I do really do believe that children, no matter what your background, who you are, your color, whoever, at the core of it, this higher self is, it lives within us. And sometimes it gets quiet down because all of the layers and pressure as we grow up, there's a lot of outside noises, right? And and it sounds like you reconnect with that authentic self that is inherently within you, like that clarity, that knowing, the courage in you, the love that shines through. And I'm just so happy to see you here with us and fought to reconnect with that part of you. So
Yeah, and all this just goes to show that it's not instant. It's not an instant fix. It takes years and years and years of work. But eventually you do get there.
Mhm.
And you guys are the example that it does take work. It does take years sometimes, but we do get there. And when you get there, you see the power within you. And that's what I see, the power in this room. So we're almost coming to an end. So, what is one advice that you would give to someone who is struggling right now?
If someone is struggling right now and listening to this, I would want them to know that you're not alone. And I'm so happy that you are listening. And I hope that by listening to me and realizing that my story is not pretty with a bow, it's kind of messy, but realizing that you don't need to be alone on this journey and you are worth it, and just keep going and keep stepping forward. And if you want help with this journey, reach out to people and know that you have the choice to rewrite your story.
That's beautiful. It's like what we've been talking about. It just takes one person to believe in you, and that one person create the perspective that you need so that you can shift towards a change that you want in your life. So it's really important to surround yourself with people that gets you, that people that knows you, and that people who has your back, right? So advocating for yourself as well, like what we talked about earlier, was so important. I think that people really need to know that you can speak up. You can design your own map with the help of someone else, and start talking about how you feel. Right. We all struggle. We all have, no childhood is perfect. No life is perfect. No, yeah, no life is perfect. That's for sure. So it's knowing that at the base, at the core, we're all wounded
We're all
souls.
flawed. Yeah.
Yeah, trying to
Yeah.
find our way through. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jennifer, leave our audience with a quote or a mantra that you live by. We'd love to know that.
So Jay Shetty always says every delay is a blessing. And that is something that I've always had a hard time with understanding, but I've come to realize when things don't work out, it's the universe or God's work trying to tell us that there is something else for us. Every delay is a blessing.
Yeah. Teaches you
Yeah.
some patience as well, right? The patience, the really listening to that I do believe also, like what you said, in the stillness of it, our soul actually starts to speak up, right? And then
Mm.
it sounds like that's how it happened to you, is that in the stillness of when you felt exhausted, when you felt like you can't run around anymore chasing life, and that you started to slow down, and now you caught yourself, you started to catch up, and your soul and your inner child is now dancing within.
It's dancing with you guys. And
Oh, that's so beautiful.
I just wanted to thank you so much for having me on and also talking about this topic. And, I read something that every 11 minutes someone dies from suicide. And I just am so grateful that we have a space like this to speak very freely. And I hope that, as years go on, this conversation becomes to be normalized. So I just want to thank you all, and thank you for letting me tell my story and hopefully add some hope into other people's lives.
Any other wisdom that you want to partake with people who are feeling that, in that edge of lost of hope? Any last words you?
I'm sending you the biggest hug, and I love you. And there is your cheerleader team out there that you just need to find, and just keep listening to yourself, and just don't give up, because you are worth everything. You're worth all the investments going to reading books. You're worth all those things to feel better. And I don't live in pain anymore. It's not painful. I actually wake up feeling blessed every single day.
Beautiful, beautiful. And while they are in this process of finding their tribe, finding their people, how can they find you, Jennifer?
Oh, yes. Oh, thank you. Also, they can find me, I think, in the show notes, jennifercanaggio.com. And also, I have, I call it the Lady Lounge, and it's like-minded women just like us, all coming together and doing things to empower each other. And find me on Instagram and social media. And feel free, if you ever just want to email and you just need someone to talk to, I would love to be that person for you.
Thank you. I'm
That's
sure,
beautiful.
yeah, I'm sure a lot of people will connect with you. Um, yeah, you're not alone, and that's a powerful thing. And you have so much to give and so much wisdom to tap into. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we will have Jennifer's links in the description. So if anyone wants to reach out to Jennifer, do follow the link. As she said, reach out to her via Instagram or her website. And also, as we spoke about, you are not alone. We are here. We have a community. Diana and myself, we do have a community called Heart Space. So you're welcome to join our free community, a community that is open to welcoming you, empowering you, and guiding you on that journey. And we'll have the link for that in the description as well. For
No,
now, thank you everyone for joining us. And thank you so much, Jennifer. We are so privileged to have you today and talking about this topic.
Oh, thank you.